A sneak peek at what's coming up next.
So let's say I believe that autism causes vaccine. I mean, vaccines cause autism.
I think it'd be awesome if we started doing the opposite of that. Yeah,
I'm sure autism does cause vaccines. A lot of those scientists in the lab are probably autistic. No, but
my personal opinion, I'm never going to stop talking to somebody, stop being friends with somebody, stop having family just because they disagree with me.
The point they were trying to make is that like Christianity
has created a lot of bad in the world.
Right, but I wouldn't consider the Nazis Christian.
Right.
But apparently that was tantamount to me being a Nazi sympathizer.
I think more people need to aspire to be the change opposed to be on the right side of history. I don't talk about my own faith very often because that's between me and my God.
I talk about my faith. George Michael.
Yeah.
Early 90s. Get ready for peak autism infotainment. Thrilling topics, amazing guests, great laughs, and autism.
On the Spectrum, an autistic podcast.
Welcome to On the Spectrum podcast. My name is Nick.
And I'm Steven.
And at some point, we will get the timing of that correctly, probably not anytime soon. But welcome to another episode of our podcast. We've been rocking it for about 2 years now, but like I always like to say, we are not experts of anything whatsoever. We're just two human beings living on the spectrum. And with that, everything we talk about is just purely based on our opinions and our lived experience of being autistic folk and finding that out late in life.
Can I come up with a song called Living on the Spectrum?
Yeah.
Yeah. You said living on the spectrum, so.
Yeah, I know.
Living on the spectrum.
You're going to do it like Aerosmith themed?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What? Oh. Like Love in an Elevator, but.
Oh, no, I was thinking of Living on the Edge by Aerosmith.
Oh, yeah.
No? Okay. So moving on. Yeah, we're going to move on now.
Living it on the spectrum.
A lot has kind of happened in the world since the last time we recorded. And the last time we recorded was Sunday.
We had
like a lot has happened.
That plane go down.
Oh my good God.
Everybody's talking about that.
There was I saw a clip on the Ticker Talker there earlier today where somebody who was a pilot for a Black Hawk helicopter said there's no way in fuck a plane could hit one.
Well, they did, apparently.
Yeah, supposedly.
I just find it strange, like all the conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day with it. Because it is very strange that a military Black Hawk helicopter just flies into and collides with a commercial airliner. It's very strange.
Well,
but what would be the motive?
Well, like, was it trying to take off or land?
Like, you think the plane was near an airport?
Oh, okay. So it was
near the airport in DC.
Okay, so it's not like it was at like full height.
No, but their paths crossed, and they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't. They should know where each other is.
A helicopter pilot, I would feel like would easily be able to avoid that collision. You know, being able to go up and down and like, I don't know.
I don't know how quickly they move. Here's what I know. We'll find out more as time goes on. And maybe 40 years from now, somebody will unlock those files.
Living on the spectrum.
So, speaking of unlocking files, did you read anything of the MLK
declassification?
Yeah.
I thought they weren't out yet.
Yeah, they're on the website or some shit.
Like I know. Well,
the White House website.
Trump put in the order to declassify them, but I didn't think they would be that quick in actually releasing it.
A ton of people made videos about it, and they said that I
feel like there's going to be nothing that surprising in there that we didn't already know.
Actually, there's a ton. Oh, yeah? In fact, some people are saying that the FBI, it was the FBI, one of the agencies back in the day was actually propping up Martin Luther King to be a civil rights leader. I don't know what, by the way, I didn't read any of it yet. Plus, I don't give a shit to read any of it.
Interesting.
But that's what some of these people are saying. If I feel like
reading through it at some point, I might.
Yeah. One guy said most people that he saw making comments, they missed the first page. Because apparently on the very first page, it specifically says something important that people are missing. And there's like activities in it of womanizing or sleeping around or some shit like that. There's even references.
I thought that was already well known that he kind of slept around.
I thought so too. But there's references that he was the P. Diddy of his time. I don't know how true any of that is. I just know that like people have made some jokes that like Martin Luther King, that Martin Luther King was the P. Diddy of his day. I don't know what the reference is for that.
We didn't have baby oil back then, so we used
I don't know.
high-grade Vaseline.
I just know that's what some of the videos said, and they're all on TikTok, so they're all probably full of shit. I mean, somebody probably just didn't read something correctly or something. I don't know how true it is. I just think it's fucking funny the way it's worded.
Well, if people keep using TikTok as much as they do, I don't think they'll be able to read it all.
That's probably true. One thing I will say is like most things, the base premise for something is a really good idea, and then it gets distorted once humans get involved. And what I mean by that is like the base premise of being able to connect and share your opinion and to be able to discover new information and build a community online. I think TikTok is great for that, and that's kind of supposedly its base premise. But it's being used as a way to make everybody feel like their opinion is fucking important. Now, granted, we have a fucking podcast, and so somebody might accuse us of having that idea too.
I never claimed my
belief.
opinion was important.
Yeah, neither have I. I mean, we're literally putting it out, and if you want to listen, you want to listen.
I'm not telling people what to think.
But there are like some of the videos, especially right now, there are some videos based around certain ideas, but people are acting as if their opinion and their level of emotionality is so goddamn important. Like they're the only ones affected, or their opinion is so important. And everybody's trying to out-intellectualize each other. They're all having fucking pissing contests of who's the smart one in the room. Downside is like there's always going to be somebody smarter than everybody.
Well, I think that also, given a lot of the things going on right now in the politically, people are worried about things, and I think there's emotions are high, and politics can affect people and does affect people on a personal level. It does impact their lives, especially if you're part of a particular group that's being targeted, or you're friends or family with people who are being targeted for certain reasons. So I can understand people like having strong feelings and strong opinions about things. I just think that sometimes some of the anger, outrage, or some of those emotions in general get misplaced or misdirected at people who it probably shouldn't be. Like if you have people who are allies or people who are mostly on the same page as you, and maybe have some minor disagreements about things, that's like collateral damage where you're punching your friends, punching your allies, you're getting into arguments and attacking people who are on the same side as you. And it's just like, I don't know why you're fighting amongst yourselves instead of being angry at the people you should be angry at.
I completely agree with you. And I also think that my personal opinion, I'm never going to stop talking to somebody, stop being friends with somebody, stop having family just because they disagree with me on something. No matter how adamantly they disagree, no matter how adamant they are that I'm fucking wrong about something, or that they believe that I'm wrong about something, I'm not going to stop being friends with them. I'm not going to stop being family.
I think you would if it, depending on what it was. I could think of some things that you might be willing to cut off.
Okay, so if somebody came outright, and it would have to be pretty fucking obvious, came outright and said that they were part of that group that died off in 1942, or we hoped, but they didn't. If somebody I knew came out and said that they're a part of that group, I would probably stop talking to them at that point. But I mean, that's like an extremism to it, though.
Yeah.
Like if I knew somebody who said I'm a member of Proud Boys, well, we're done. Just right then and there. But
NAMBLA.
Yeah, I would cut somebody off if they're a member of NAMBLA. Yeah.
I don't think is that even a real group though?
It is. It is actually a real fucking group. In fact, they changed their name, and it's oh God, what's the new term? It makes it sound so nice, and it's really fucking not. By the way, boys and girls, if you don't know what NAMBLA is, look it the fuck up. And if you do know what it is, we will stop talking about it in just a moment.
No, I'm just throwing out examples. Yes, a lot of them are extreme ones, but I think what you run into is, especially in our community where people, we get kind of rigid in our thought process, in our beliefs.
Like people like to talk about that idea of strong sense of justice, even though they Misunderstanding what the fuck that means.
If let's say you and I agree 90% on something.
Yeah.
And we're mostly aligned with each other, but maybe we have one disagreement about. I'm going to use a controversial example.
Great.
But let's say we both support trans people. We support trans rights, right?
That's a controversial topic?
Yes. Well, let me get to the part that's controversial.
I'm sorry.
So let's say you and I both support trans rights, right?
Yeah.
And we want trans people to be able to not be afraid and be able to live their lives and identify how they want to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's say you have some concerns about some of the trans women competing with people who are biologically female.
Yeah, that idea. Yeah.
Right? Let's say you have some issues with that.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of people who would just automatically put you into the same box as people who are extremely transphobic or anti-LGBTQ without any sort of nuance. Yeah, I saw it. Thanks.
Okay.
Or they might... there's lots of other examples I could use, but that's one specific example. But let's say you have a slight disagreement with something. And the example that I had yesterday, I was talking about where somebody was a friend of mine, lifelong friend of mine that I've known for 20 years.
Wait, before you go further, you sure you want to talk about this?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
I've known this person for about 20 years. And, as our audience probably knows, I can be somewhat pedantic at times. They posted a meme.
What? Revelation?
About Christianity. And I don't remember exactly what the meme was now because I saw it and then I haven't seen it since I initially commented on it. But it's basically listing off all of these horrible groups. They had like the KKK.
Yeah.
They had Nazis.
Yeah.
They had, I think, something to do with slavery or colonization and basically all these different horrible groups and people that have committed horrible acts throughout history. And there was an equal sign next to each one that says Christian, 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 basically saying the common denominator between all these horrible people is that they're Christian. And I said, hey, I pretty much agree with what you posted, but I don't understand the Nazi thing. I said, is my understanding that the Nazis were anti-Christian or anti-religion, and that the Nazi elite, the members of the party, were like into the occult and Norse paganism and kind of
witchcraft and shit like that,
anti-organized religion. And they only used Christianity somewhat as like a propaganda tool, but they didn't like the Nazi party itself, and the Nazis weren't really Christian. And then I pointed out, like, if you had a group of Buddhists who decided to commit a genocide, I wouldn't say that the Buddhism necessarily had anything to do with it unless they did it in the name of Buddhism, but like that's antithetical to what Buddhism is. But so I wasn't disagreeing with, like, the point they were trying to make is that like Christianity has
created a lot of bad in the world.
Right. But I wouldn't consider the Nazis Christian.
Right.
But apparently that was tantamount to me being a Nazi sympathizer.
Somehow.
Which I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said anything because I should have just kept my mouth shut, I guess, even though what they said, I thought, whatever. But you get my point.
Yeah, I do.
So now because I said that, or I thought that they factually were incorrect, that they weren't Christian. In my mind, they weren't, from my understanding of history. And then this person reacted in a bad way, and they said, I said, if I'm wrong, you could just tell me how I'm wrong, or like point out how I'm wrong, or just tell me that you don't like that I did that or whatever. But no, the reaction was, don't fucking Nazi simp on my page. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how am I a Nazi simp? It doesn't make any sense. And I said, it doesn't make sense to me. Can you please help me understand it?
Right.
Because I don't understand what the fuck you're saying.
Right.
Like, how does that? I'm like, I understand if you think I'm being annoying or pedantic, but like, I'm just pointing out what I understand to be factually true. And it's just one piece of, like, you have this list of all these things, and this one thing doesn't match up in my mind when I look at it. Maybe I'm being overly obsessed with the details, but you have all these things, and I'm like, I wouldn't call those people Christian. And I'm not even Christian. I'm like an atheist, right?
Yeah.
You're
yeah,
Christian.
I'm a Christian.
So it's like, I have no reason to simp for Christians or Nazis. I just thought that it was factually incorrect.
Right. Like, you're not playing for either side there. I will say that, like, that to me is part of the problem with online and social media is people can make, what is that, a hyperbolic statement? They can make such exaggerated claims and all it does is perpetuate people's fucking hate. And yes, you should hate Nazis. Yes, you should. I agree with that completely. But it's to shit on Steve or to break a 20-year friendship with somebody just because they're correcting, not agreeing with,
not disagreeing.
Not disagreeing with what you're saying, but correcting something you said.
A lot of people have done horrible things in the name of religion.
Yes, they have.
I just thought it doesn't. Like me pointing that out doesn't mean that Christianity is good or that Nazis are good. I'm just pointing out that I don't think this group was it was the same as this group. They're two different things.
Right. But that happens quite a lot.
How is that apologizing for them? I don't get it.
I don't understand that either. But like, if we take that into different terms, I even see that like if somebody is a fan of any group, okay, no, if somebody claims to be an ally or a big supporter of a group, if you say anything, even slightly maybe that they think is against that group, they get so enraged with it. And I think that's part of a problem. Now, granted, misinformation is a problem, but I think it's a worse off problem when the way you combat it is by accusing somebody of supporting the opposite.
Or you can at least ask them
the bad side of it.
You can at least I can understand if it's a random person.
Yeah.
It's easier to just dismiss and write off somebody.
Right.
But what about when this is a family member or a friend or somebody that you're close to and you have not enough patience to either explain to them how you feel, ask them what they meant or how they feel.
Right.
No attempt to communicate or understand. It's just immediately like, you're a part of this bad group. Mm-hmm. Fuck you. Go in the corner.
I have a lot of family members who are very much the kind of Christians that are exclusionary Christians, and they are not too kind to the LGBT community, and I didn't stop talking to them for that reason. I knew how they felt about them, but I didn't stop talking to them for that reason. I stopped talking to them because they stopped talking to me. I'm kind of an asshole. But like, I wouldn't stop talking to them for those viewpoints. Like they can absolutely
you can try to be the Daryl Davis in their life.
Yeah, there you go. I think more people need to aspire to be Daryl Davis in life. I think more people need to aspire to be the change opposed to be on the right side of history. Like, it's cool to be on that side. It's cool to feel like you're right and justified. But at the same time, you cannot eradicate hate. You cannot eradicate, all of the negative in the world, the negative in humanity, without coming to a mid-ground with somebody.
I think that the problem is for certain groups is that they might be putting themselves in danger. And even Daryl Davis, by being a black man who becomes friends with people in the KKK, he might be putting himself somewhat at risk for violence for people who obviously he hasn't had issues with people being violent towards him physically. Right. But there's always that risk if you get some crazy person who is a member of the KKK and is violent about it.
But that's where...
Or if you have what if you have an anti-trans person who's very transphobic and you're a trans person and you try to like befriend people who are transphobic to try to get them to realize, hey, we're not so bad. And then they turn around and they do something horrible to you.
So I actually have a buddy who is anti-trans definitely, is pseudo against the LGBT community as a whole. And when I told this person that I was part of that community, when I finally told them that I was bi, their response was, I'll pray for your soul. I don't agree. And I said, cool. I know you don't agree. And I've heard a lot of the really ignorant fucking bullshit that this person has said over the years. And I pointed out that it has hurt me in the past. And his response was, I didn't mean to hurt you, but that is what I believe. And I said, cool, that's fine. Here's what I will say, though. He does not believe that any human being deserves to be treated poorly or bad, but he does believe that people in the LGBT community will burn in hell. But he doesn't believe that on Earth, we as humans,
as long as the God's the one doing the judging. That's fine.
Well, that's his belief, is that God should be doing the judging.
All right, so I'm not as up to date on the Christianity as you are. Well, but is that actually
up to date? I never go to church because I don't want to be around people like him.
Well, is that actually what churches preach is that like if you're gay, you're just going to go to hell. I thought it was just
some
a sin.
churches. Some
So what if
churches.
you're a homosexual
Uh-huh.
and you're a practicing homosexual
Uh-huh.
and you go to church
Uh-huh.
and you ask for forgiveness for being gay? I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying hypothetically.
Okay. So
Would that mean you're still going to hell?
hypothetically, if you
Because if you ask for forgiveness for your sins, aren't you?
if you were you said homosexual. So if you were a person who loves somebody of the same sex as you and you're getting it on and you are living a life with that person, if you not go to church to ask for forgiveness, because that's not where you get forgiveness. You get forgiveness from God and God alone. But if you ask God for forgiveness for the things that you've done wrong, okay, or the things that are against God's will you be forgiven? Well, the Bible says you will be forgiven if you ask for forgiveness. So then, yes, you'll be fine.
I use a hypothetical. I'm just curious.
But that's by the way, that's basics. Like there's a shit ton more to that. And on top of that, that's between you and what you believe in. Like there's a reason why I don't talk about religion very often. I don't talk about my own faith very often because that's between me and my God.
I talk about my
That's
faith.
it.
George Michael,
Yeah.
early 90s or 1989, whenever it came out.
So like when it comes to that, so there are some churches that are completely accepting of all people's differences, and you can go and you can worship and you can feel the love,
like the progressive churches where they have like the LGBTQ flags out front, and
and then there are staunch fundamentalist Baptist churches, which is what my buddy's a part of, and they're very anti, but they're also very shitty to people, and I don't mean shitty like they don't help people because they do help people, but they help people they deem worthy, which, fuck you. But like me and him have had these conversations about this kind of stuff. And
do you think a lot of that stems around ignorance, like lack of experience with people in those communities? Or do you think that it's a way to make themselves feel better about make them feel better about themselves because they're not as much of a sinner as you, the dirty heathen who's a LGBTQ person?
I think it's all of it. I think it's all of that because we're all born into sin, and on that, like we all have to ask for forgiveness for our sin.
Titus died for our sins.
Yeah,
when he killed his father, and he summoned
and put it this way, like I'm not a perfect Christian by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't think anybody can be. I don't think anybody is. And do I know it as well as some scholars out there? Fuck no, I don't.
He reigns.
So I wasn't Christian until I went into the service in 2008. They told me I was only allowed to bring one book with me, and that's a religious book. So I bought a fucking Bible and I started reading the motherfucker so I'd have something to do. And I kept reading the book and I got through it like 3 times during basic training, which was only 8 weeks. And I got through it 3 times. And first time I read through it, I went,
you were jealous of Samson's hair?
Yeah, that's it.
Because you didn't have any?
Well, that I was. So then the first time I read through it, I kind of went to myself. I kind of said, there's some things in here that I've heard before, but I've never heard them this way, as in the way it was written in the book. And I was using an NIV. I wasn't using a King James. So for anybody who fucking had that question, which people ask me that often, what Bible did you read? Doesn't fucking matter. It's a fucking Bible.
The one with the words in it?
Yeah. But then the second time I read through it, I realized that a lot of what it talked about how to treat people in the positive ways, how to treat people in like how I wanted to live my life made sense to what I was already trying to live and what I already believed in. And then the third time I read through it, I kind of started.
Do you think Lazarus actually was risen from the dead, resurrected?
Do I believe it? Lazarus was?
Yeah.
It's in the Bible.
Okay. But
at the same time, am I foolish enough to believe that every fucking word is literal? No, I don't believe every fucking word is literal.
What?
There's enough reasons for me to believe, so whether you believe in a God or you're an atheist, take it for the moral lessons that it shows. Okay. And there are some moral lessons in there that are good. Like there's some fucked up shit in the Old Testament. Got it.
If you think that humanity has been wiped out, you might as well get your dad drunk and have sex with him.
Oh, good God. Oh, good God.
My favorite story.
That is a story in the Old Testament.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, that is the story in the Old Testament. Anyway, but it's more of
After your mom's just been turned into a condiment.
Yeah, exactly. Salt. Ah, that's awesome. Anyway, so no, there are some good things in there. And if you want to take it as some good moral lessons, cool. Take it for that. If you're an atheist, take it for good moral lessons. If there's something you can glean from it that benefits you in your life, bravo. And I definitely do not want this episode to become about Nick's faith.
No, it's funny. I like to make Bible jokes, so I sit
go
here and
for
make
it.
jokes
Go for
about
it.
Moses.
Look, I have no problem people making fun of me being a Christian.
Abraham.
Like I'm pretty secure in my faith. I'm pretty secure in what I believe in.
No, it's
I got
mostly
issue
the Old
with it.
Testament stuff is just like to me is
Yeah,
kind
the
of
Old
crazy.
Testament's got some weird shit in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it was also a different time period. I also think that some of the lessons you can glean from it are really important.
Well,
I mean, some of it's really fucking bad and really fucking horrible, but at the same time, there's some good stuff in there. Like I've read the Quran, I've read the Torah. Well, I read
didn't God command the Jews to commit genocide?
I don't want to get into that.
I mean, in the Old Testament, God tells them to wipe out all the people.
I don't want to get into the stories of the Bible, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a position where I have to defend the fucking Bible.
Okay, my bad.
Wow. Like I just said a minute ago, like I don't want to make it that. Here's my reason for that, Steve, okay? And I'm not trying to shut you down in particular. It's I did not go to
we can hand out candy eggs to celebrate Jesus.
I did not go to church to learn the Bible. I did not go to church and find faith. I found faith on my own just by reading the Bible. I found faith through what I felt when I read the Bible. That's how I found faith. I didn't go to church. I didn't grow up in a church. Yes, my father was a pastor, but he left the church before I was born.
So being a bisexual, did you find faith through Madonna's Like a Prayer?
By sucking dick? Is that what you're asking me? Did I find faith by sucking dick? Did I feel the warmth of flesh in my mouth and go, huh, God must be real?
Yeah.
No,
you didn't know the Holy Spirit, but then it just came to you.
No. No, that is not. That
the
is
Holy Jizzip.
Oh, heartburn. Such bad heartburn right now. No, that is not how I came to faith. No. What were we talking about? Oh, internet stuff.
Am I going to hell for making that joke?
No. Well, so somebody might believe you are going to hell for making that joke, but those are also the same
Blasphemer.
assholes.
Blasphemy.
Those are also the same assholes who are really self-conscious about their fucking faith, who are constantly trying to prove what they believe in. And like straight up, no good deed gets you into heaven, goddammit.
Maybe Jesus didn't walk on water. Maybe he had like water skis or something.
Yeah, maybe a dude was just walking on somebody's head. I don't know.
He could run so fast it's like skipping rocks.
Yeah, that's it. He's the Flash.
Yeah,
he's the Flash.
Barry Allen went back in time.
Yeah, that's right. See, Barry's always fucking up the timeline. All right,
And that's how he just reversed time to bring Lazarus back to life. That's how he did it.
Well, Superman went around the Earth. He did that in the first movie, didn't he?
I'm not a DC guy. I don't know all the. I just know the Flash can run so fast that he can time travel.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
What?
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but
according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, you can only travel forward in time. You can't go backward in time.
Okay.
And yet in the DC comics, he keeps going backward in time.
What has Neil deGrasse Tyson ever been right about?
Pluto.
Maybe we could.
Anyway, there's also some other physicist online on TikTok. I see videos of him now and again now too, and he talks about it too. But anyway, he had a great video about black holes. But before I go down that rabbit fucking
what
hole,
if dwarf planets were full of dwarfs?
You mean little people?
No, I mean like fictional fantasy dwarfs.
The like D&D dwarves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like that's why it's a dwarf planet.
Jesus.
And they mine inside
How literal could that be? How literal is that?
a literal dwarf planet.
And they all got pickaxes.
And their queen is Snow White.
Oh my good God. Oh my good God.
She's queen of the dwarf planet.
Oh, good God. What is this? Chronicles of Narnia? Like, what the fuck? Okay. Where the fuck were we? Oh, right. Yeah. People getting pissy. So, because we were talking about a minute ago about like people having really strong opinions and like cutting people off and shit like that. I want to go on the flip side of that conversation. Because like I'm guilty of it at times too. You're guilty of it at times too. And I think a lot of autistic people are guilty of this. We end up correcting people, even if it's a really small correction, but we correct people constantly, and we like shout and scream, "Oh, misinformation! Oh my
That's
God,
right.
it's so
the only
hurtful."
Nazi that I am is a grammar Nazi.
That's exactly right. And my basically like we need to be okay with letting people be wrong and somewhat wrong. I'm not going to say all the way wrong, but somewhat
Allow people to be incorrect or
at
make
times,
mistakes.
At times. Because quite honestly, did they get their point across? I think that's probably the major thing.
A lot of times
to
when
understand.
people are so adamant about something or so sure of themselves, that a lot of times I will think that somebody is wrong, but because they're so confident in being correct, even if I think they're incorrect, it causes me to doubt whether I'm correct. So then sometimes I'll be like, I thought it was this, but this person's saying this thing, and then I'll go like look it up. Just be like, am I crazy? Because it's not even about proving myself right or wrong, but it's more about like I feel like I'm crazy because I'm like I thought this was something else. And then you know what I mean?
So all of that is fine. It's then when you go and you point it out to them after the fact, after you went and looked it up.
People cause me to doubt myself because I'm like, am I wrong?
That's the extra step that becomes you trying to be right. That's you correcting them. So if somebody says something in a post, okay, they write up there, John Lennon was not in the Beatles, which we all know is fucking wrong, right? But if you go look it up, find
Paul
something.
McCartney's dead.
Yeah, there you go. Paul McCartney. He will be soon. Jesus.
No, there's the conspiracy theory that he died and they replaced him. You ever heard
really?
that? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Never heard that. Anyway, but like, let's just say somebody puts a meme up or a post or something that says John Lennon was never in the Beatles. It was a not Mandalorian effect.
A Mandalorian effect? Really?
That's what I was going to say. Mandalorian effect. Mandela effect. We all know that's wrong. Okay. And if you looked at that and then you went and looked it up and then you grabbed a screenshot or you copied a link and then you posted that to it, that you're not posting it because you're trying to verify, it's that you're correct. You're trying to prove them wrong.
And it depends because in the past,
there's no reason to post it otherwise. There's no reason to
let them know that they're wrong.
Why?
Because you're out there telling people things that are wrong. And they should know that they're sharing incorrect information.
But that's not about you correcting them. That's you proving you know better.
I wouldn't look at it that way.
I know you won't look at it that way. I'll look at it that way because you have to go through the effort of looking it up. You have to go through the effort of posting the shit. But
I can give you an example.
Tons and tons of other people who are already going to do that. I would just post.
I used to
you are
listen
fucking wrong.
I'm not
going to back it up with anything.
I used to listen to talk radio many years ago. Yeah, like political talk radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to listen to political talk radio.
Remember, I'm directing a show called Talk Radio.
Yeah, in the I want to say in like the 2000s, let's say 2010s, I would occasionally listen to political radio and stuff.
Real big.
No, I didn't listen to him, but I'm just saying I would listen to stuff and then. I agree, disagree with different things they would say. They had, hot political takes, whatever.
Yeah.
But if they posted something on Facebook or on social media, if they shared something and I was like kind of questioning it, if I looked up something they were saying and I found it was complete bullshit, I would share a link to it saying, hey, this is not correct.
Okay. So,
because you're telling people something that's not right.
But to me, there's a difference there because in that regard, you're correcting
a radio host. Yeah.
No, not just a radio host, but he is specifically doing talk radio.
Yeah.
So he's specifically putting out points of view and talking about things, okay, that are important to his listeners, things that he's putting himself out there as being knowledgeable. Okay, like Rush Limbaugh used to do this on a regular basis. He would say inflammatory shit. People would correct him, and then a day or two later, he would come back on for the same fucking topic, and then he would add nuance to it. or whatever the fuck he would rationalize
I've
with.
actually never listened to him ever.
Ever?
So, no.
Oh, when I lived up in Maine, upstate Maine.
I mean, well, he's dead now, but.
Oh, yeah, there is. But I used to listen to him when I lived in upstate Maine. It was either that or like 900 country stations. And so, yeah, I'd rather listen to a fat man talk at that point. So anyway, not that I hate country music, but anyway. What was he saying? Right. But if you're, there's a difference to me between calling out somebody on a talk show or even on a podcast. If you want to correct us on shit, feel free to do so. Because to me, I don't see it as the same thing. But if you come across somebody's TikTok and their TikTok is their personal opinion and they say something that you know more about, and if you go to point out that they're wrong, even though you understood their whole point, and their whole point in that 60-second video or 3-minute video didn't actually have anything to do with the information they got wrong, like, you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for them. You're not trying to correct them. You're not trying to educate them. You're doing it so you can feel fucking smart.
In that particular situation, I don't think I would necessarily do that. But if somebody did the same thing you're talking about, but their entire whatever they were claiming factually was wrong, even if they had another point to it, but if there's a large factual claim that's if you're trying to share an opinion or a thought you have, but it's predicated on this fact, right? But that predicated fact is wrong, then that influences, like, so now you're basing your opinion off of this incorrect fact.
So hold on. So if their opinion, is based on an incorrect fact,
yes.
If their opinion though still holds weight, even though it's based on,
I'll give you a stupid example.
Okay, please.
So let's say I believe that autism causes vaccines cause autism, right?
I think it'd be awesome if we started doing the opposite of that. But
I'm sure autism does cause vaccines. A lot of those scientists in the lab are probably autistic. No, but so let's say that I believe vaccines cause autism.
Yeah, hypothetically, yeah.
And so I'm saying I believe that the government needs to do more to test these vaccines, and that we should probably ban certain children from having certain vaccines at certain times. Now, you don't necessarily need to argue with me about my opinion, but I'm basing that opinion upon something that's factually incorrect.
Correct. So here's how I would look at it, and I could be wrong in doing this, but I understand that anybody can be wrong, and I can understand that anybody can be misled and led down the wrong path when it comes to what is fact and what is not, right? I think that if we separate those two ideas, should the government or should some agency or some group of people look at vaccines and look at the vaccine schedule a little bit more closely? Maybe. And would it be a bad idea to put more money into researching that? No. Do vaccines cause autism? No, they don't. And that is factually incorrect, saying that they do. But the other side of that, where they're advocating for more research to be done to look at these,
or maybe they
things,
say that
that's a bad idea.
We need to spread out vaccine schedules for kids or whatever.
Yeah,
but they're basing that opinion on something that's incorrect.
They are basing it on something that's incorrect, but their idea that came from it doesn't necessarily sound like a bad idea.
Right, but would you still think I was an asshole if you
corrected
responded to them and said, hey, there's several different studies that show vaccines do not cause. I mean, there's more than several, but
so I think you're doing it for yourself at that point. I think it is pointless to point out that his initial assertion of vaccines causing autism is wrong. I think it's stupid to do that.
See,
they've already heard it 1,000 times.
And I think that we need to continue
the first time.
We need to continue to push back on people who share misinformation.
But his point, like, if his post is they believe vaccines cause autism, and we need to do more research to find out about if we can spread out the scheduling for vaccines in kids, I think the point of him putting it out is to discuss that change. And so I don't think we need to correct that. Because honest to God, people who believe vaccines cause autism, they do not give a fuck the reality of it. They've already been told 1,000 times.
I still think
they're not going to change
well,
their opinion.
That's just a random example I gave, but I still think my point stands, and I still think that if somebody's predicating whatever they're sharing online or meme or idea or opinion, whatever, if it's predicated upon false information, that I don't think it's a big deal to call them out on the fact they're predicating things on is false.
So
especially if other people are consuming it, because you're sharing it with people, and now not only are you putting your idea out there, but you're helping to spread that misinformation to other people, because other people who are gullible or maybe ignorant and will believe that.
Yeah. Okay. So we should stop people from saying things like vaccines cause autism?
No, we don't stop them, but if you see it, you should correct them.
So basically, we're going to live in a society where everybody's just on the lookout for misinformation so they can correct them.
They should.
I think that does nothing to help us.
It's not your.
I think that
I'm not
does
saying
nothing
it's your.
to stop this.
I'm not saying it's your
information.
responsibility. I'm not saying everybody should have to do it, but I'm saying that if I choose to do that, I don't think there's a problem with that, because I'm pointing out that people are spreading misinformation.
So it's not. So I wasn't really talking about like blatant misinformation kind of stuff, but if the whole point of the reason why you're correcting it, is to correct it. Sorry, if the whole reason why you're correcting it is because you said, as you said before,
is there an example you can give that would be more in line with what you're saying? Rather than I'm talking about
without getting personal, no, because I avoid those. I avoid that shit like the plague.
Because it sounds like what you're talking about, without you giving me a specific example, would be something more mundane, maybe. Yeah. Instead of vaccines, maybe you're talking about like I'm trying to think of one that's silly. Do you know what added? So the way that color is generated on a TV or a monitor is different than the way color is generated in real life.
Sure.
I think it's called additive versus subtractive color.
Oh, okay.
So the way you make colors is different on a screen.
Yeah.
Versus, because the way that when you're when you see something, let's say the wall, those squares are black.
Right.
That's the light being absorbed by the object, right? Versus when you're looking at something on a screen, it's actually putting out light. Yeah. And so the process,
the variation of the three colors.
So the way that the colors are produced is different. It's very different than the way colors are produced in real life versus light reflecting off things.
Yes.
Versus this is light being put out from a screen.
Yes.
So if you were to say like talking about primary colors or something in a screen, and I corrected you because, well, that's not the way color works on a monitor or a TV.
Yeah.
So is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Because at that point, like, who cares?
Yes, that right there. If we're always just constantly correcting each other, then I don't think it gets anywhere. Because with all these people for 20 fucking years or so who have been trying to dispel this myth of vaccines causing autism, and all of these thousands and thousands of people who have corrected people, and yet it still persists. And one of the reasons why it persists is because all of these social media pages, all of them have an algorithm that say the more comments you leave, the more people will see it. So every time you go to correct somebody, all you're doing is helping their shit get seen.
Well, people also post things called rage bait.
Yeah.
You know what rage bait is?
Yeah, I've heard it we've been accused of doing it twice now.
Oh, okay.
In the past 30 days, we've been accused of it twice.
So, yeah, I mean, you're saying
nothing I post is purely to get
a
reaction.
People post things that they know are incorrect because they want people to comment, because it'll make their post do better in the algorithm, because people will comment to correct them.
But of course, people fucking prove it every time. They let their emotions get the best of them, and they correct something.
I saw somebody who posted a video and it did really well, and he purposely mispronounced certain words.
Yeah.
And people were correcting him in the comments, but it made his post do better because they were correcting him.
Did you see some of the comments on our post of pedantic and semantic?
No.
So the episode, I don't know which episode it was, where I asked you what was the difference between the two, because in that moment I couldn't remember.
Yeah, being a pedant.
Yeah. So somebody said, "How do you not know the difference between it?" I didn't even respond to it. It's because in that given moment in the conversation, I wanted to make sure I knew what the fuck you were talking about. So I asked what the difference was, because in that moment I didn't remember what the fuck. But it was just a matter of like somebody felt so strongly, oh, they know what it is better than Nick does. Yeah, no shit.
I mean, arguing semantics can be pedantic.
Yeah, it can be. Well, actually, somebody pointed that out, and they were like, I don't know why you guys are talking about it, because sometimes it can be each other. Anyway, I didn't want to get on that conversation again.
Pedantic is like being a pedant, which means being overly obsessed with details.
Yeah.
But then arguing semantics is arguing over the definition of words, which can be pedantic.
Yes.
So, but yeah.
So, but people came in the comment section of that, and they were trying to, even though you gave it that exact definition, people still tried to add to it as if you got it wrong. One person specifically said, no, semantics has more to do with, just because in that moment you couldn't rattle off the fucking dictionary. So I will say there are times where people are trying to correct misinformation, and it's for their own benefit. They're correcting it. They're not actually correcting it for the benefit of the whole,
well,
the entire community.
How would you know that, or why would you say that?
Because I've seen comments.
Because I know
I'm
sure that some people do, but I'm just asking where you're getting that from. Because in a lot of cases where I've done stuff like that, I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
But and then like, how can you know my intention?
So it's not. It's more of my belief of it. I don't read minds. I don't believe in psychics. I don't truly know what somebody's intention is. I don't think anybody can truly know what somebody else's intention is because that's an internalized thing. I'm just saying that there are often times where I'll see somebody go to correct something in a post. I'll see somebody try to correct somebody in real life. And the way they go about correcting it, it's, no, you're wrong about that. It's really this. No, I know better than you because I'm autistic. This is what it really means. That shit right there to me illustrates that it wasn't about correcting misinformation or educating somebody. It's about you proving you're fucking right. And like, it's just the way it gets worded.
Or trying to feel smart.
Yeah, or trying to feel like they're smarter or better than somebody else. And you got to be careful on that because you're going to harden somebody in their belief more so than they already are.
I'm usually very curious. So I don't think I told you about this, but last night I spent a long time with a customer. I spent an hour talking to this guy because it was slow. And he was born in Bulgaria. And he studied history, and he's a professor. He teaches French, and I guess he studied history. He's a history buff. So I had a conversation for over an hour with this guy talking about history. Yeah. When he grew up in Bulgaria, it was during the Soviet era. So he was a Soviet satellite state. Mm-hmm. We talked all about the history of Russia, Soviet Union, stuff going on with Putin currently, European history, food history, all kinds of stuff, U.S. history. And I realized at certain points this guy knew a lot more than I did about certain subject matter. But I'm genuinely a very curious person. So I asked him a lot of questions. And when I approach people online, they have no way of knowing necessarily my intent. Right. But typically when people are throwing out bold statements, I am very curious. I'm like, what is this person talking about? Yeah. Is this true? Are they full of crap? Am I wrong? I don't know. So I like to get to the bottom of things. Right. But that's me. I don't like to be, it's not that I want to be right, but I don't want to be wrong because I don't want to, it's more so I don't want to be wrong because I don't want to be, it makes me feel bad if I'm telling other people stuff. It's embarrassing. If I'm telling you stuff that's wrong, I feel embarrassed now because I've been saying stuff to you that's not true. And now I'm spreading incorrect information to other people that might repeat the same misinformation.
But in that regard, then educate yourself. Yeah. That doesn't mean by any means you have to tell somebody else they're wrong. If you have a problem being wrong at times and you never want to be the person who gives misinformation, then make sure you were educated.
Like how people look back on situations. You gotta
correct anybody in that.
People look back on situations in life and they cringe about certain things.
Yes.
Well, I have a hard time with it. Like if I'm really wrong about something, I feel embarrassed about it because I don't like going around telling people stuff that's wrong. So I like to be curious and get to the bottom of things. I don't want to be the person who's telling people something that's wrong.
But do you also
especially if you go in like let's say I had kids and now my kids are repeating crap that's wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to be wrong at something.
Yeah.
We're all going to be ignorant about something.
But I try my best not to go around and say bullshit that's not true.
Here's my question, because I don't have that feeling. I have no problem being fucking wrong. I have no problem spouting off something fucking ignorant and having somebody correct me. I have no issue with it in the world. I don't feel embarrassment when I say something.
Well, unless you think they're correcting you because they're trying to prove you're smarter.
And it's the way people go about doing it that is the important part there. Like when Natalie corrects me in my acting, she knows better than I do. But I also know she knows better than I do when it comes to acting. She knows acting technique better. She knows a lot of the philosophy behind it a lot better than I do. So when she corrects me on it, sometimes I start with a little bit of pushback, but then I immediately back myself down and go, "Yep, you're right."
Now, what about
Because-
what if you think the person doesn't know better, or you think you know better?
So if I think I know better, well, nowadays everybody's real quick to whip out their goddamn phones. And so if somebody shows me that I'm fucking wrong, then I go, I'm wrong.
Well, I bring that up because
my point is this though, and I got you. So let me ask you a question: why is it embarrassing to be wrong? Why do you feel?
Why do I personally feel embarrassed to be wrong?
Why is it embarrassing to be wrong?
I just don't. I don't want to be somebody who's saying incorrect stuff.
Why is that important to you?
I don't know.
Okay, so
I think probably if I were to try to think about it, I don't really reflect on this sort of stuff. But if I had to guess,
nobody
I probably
really does.
I probably had some embarrassing situations when I was a kid where I was had said stuff that was fucking dumb, and then I felt bad about it.
So, do you view yourself as intelligent?
Relatively.
Do you view yourself as being smart?
I
Is
guess.
that part of the identity?
I'd say slightly
Steve
above
has?
average.
Oh, slightly above average. There you go. So, because
But I also do a lot more investigating than the majority of people.
You don't know that. You're not with the majority of people 90% of the time. So you don't
That's
know
true.
how much they investigate.
But you get a sense of it when you interact with the public.
Hold on.
I interact with people every day.
So the reason why I'm asking those questions of you is because if a person in their sense of identity, and thank you, psychology people, for correcting me if I'm about to be wrong, but if in somebody's identity, okay, they believe themselves to be smart, okay, they would have a problem being wrong or not being intelligent enough or not having enough knowledge of anything, right? That would be a problem to them. And one of the things about carrying that identity is they always want people to believe that they're smart. Now, if you add that onto somebody who's also insecure about their intelligence, the two of those together, believing that they are or holding this identity, this label to themselves as being intelligent or smart, and also being insecure about their own intelligence, they're always trying to prove to everybody else that they are smart, which means their motive for correcting people might be motivated by that, be motivated by that insecurity, and now they feel the need to prove it.
I would say me personally though, like I don't feel insecure about my intelligence. Like I don't think I'm
I
a
was
genius.
trying to actually pull it away from you just so we're not directly on
like,
you.
I don't think that I'm a genius or anything, but I know like that I'm a decently intelligent person.
Sure.
And, I can hold my own in intellectual conversations with intellectuals that I've met. Like when I'm talking to like this gentleman I was talking to yesterday, he's a professor. He's very well studied.
Sure.
After talking to him for a few minutes, it was very clear to me that he's a very smart person.
Sure.
And I had a long, deep conversation with this person, and I appreciate conversations like that. And I think he was impressed with how much I knew about different topics that I've never actually taken a class on in my life. But that's because I like to go and look up different things and read about things that are not things that I went to school for. And
there are other reasons why people want to correct stuff. Like I understand why a lot of people in the autistic community, especially the people who call themselves advocates and activists, why they want to correct misinformation. I understand the want and desire to it. I also know that every time they get on fucking somewhere and have an argument with somebody about a fucking post, all they're doing is helping that shit be seen by more people. They're not correcting anything. Even if you're arguing with somebody in real life, say me and you go to the bar, we go to have a beer, me and you were talking, I don't know, we're talking about accommodations in the workplace, and somebody starts to argue with us, fuck you, a company shouldn't have to do that. Even if we provide evidence to support our side of things, that person sitting at the bar ain't going to give a fuck. They already have an opinion, and their opinion is not based on fact. And even if they have some credible evidence to support their opinion,
I can speak for myself that I usually don't. If it's not something I know much, I usually don't say anything. If it's a subject that I don't know about, or or if somebody's talking about something,
I'm about to call you out,
I usually won't say anything.
All right.
I said usually.
Yeah. 90% of the time, dead right. If you don't know something, or if you don't feel like you know enough about a subject, you will actually say that out loud. Yeah, I don't really know enough about this.
But I'm saying a lot of people will just talk out of their ass.
Like I will. I full well will. I will talk about any fucking topic. Anyway.
So like, Nick, can you tell me about the properties of flora that grow on cacti.
Yes. So one of the cool things about the flora. So I will talk about anything. I would say I don't fucking know
anything.
Yeah. He'll just immediately go, oh, but I will talk about anything. And that's probably
that's why I'm saying when
trait
when
Nick.
I do open my mouth and talk to somebody about something, it's usually because I have a lot of knowledge about it, or at least believe that I do.
So I'm gonna, because we're all subject to Dunning-Kruger there. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Right. So I will call you out on one thing, okay? Because several times we've had conversations about human behavior, okay, about psychology specifically, and we'll have this conversation, just a casual, or what I thought was a casual everyday conversation that doesn't really mean a hell of a much of anything. It's not impactful or meaningful of life at all. And then a day or so, maybe even an hour later after we've left each other's company, you will send me fucking articles and videos from YouTube, multiple of them, proving your point and trying to tell me I was wrong. Now, the reason why I say it this way is because there's no reason for you to send that to me. None whatsoever. In fact, there was one in particular that the videos you sent me, okay, didn't actually even prove your point. They just happened to mention the point you were making. And it's not that they were bad videos. It's just when it comes to things like counseling and when it comes to internal workings of how people operate, their thinking styles, different internal mechanisms of thought and like coping skills, stuff like that. When it comes to all of that stuff, there's different beliefs in psychology about where it comes from, how they operate, what to do with them, different coping skills, all of that kind of stuff. There's different things people believe in, and there's evidence to support all of them. And that's one of the downsides of psychology is there's a lot of evidence to support a lot of different ideas. And it's
not a hard science.
Right.
Hard science would, like geology is a hard science.
Yeah.
That's not my term. That's what it's called.
It's a social science. No, they're not actually called hard and soft sciences. One is a social science.
I've heard that like physical sciences or like things like chemistry. I've heard those types of things described as the hard sciences because it's more.
When we were younger, yeah. When I was in college, my biology professor referred to the quote unquote hard sciences, okay, as definitive sciences.
Well, it's stuff that's more physically tangible.
Yes,
like I can test a rock.
Right, and that's why he called them definitive
do chemistry.
Sciences.
I can demonstrate physics, right? Yeah. But how do you demonstrate this human behavioral theory? I can't. It's different.
Well, I mean, people create research for it, but all research, including even the sciences you're talking about, it's evidence to support. It doesn't prove or disprove shit.
I just say the social sciences.
Yeah. I always say social sciences too. I don't call it soft science, although we could. I mean, some people still believe that bullshit. But like the scientific method is used the exact same fucking way.
In my defense of what you were saying before.
Yeah.
I would guess
this was like 4 or 5 years ago.
I would guess that whatever you're talking about was probably a long time ago.
It was.
Also, because when I send you stuff nowadays, usually typically if I send you stuff, we talked about something and then it pops up on my feed because my phone's listening to me, and I'm like, hey, check this out because this is related to what we were talking about.
You mean like red dyed number 40?
But it's for me. It's just because I just find it interesting. It's not me trying to say, hey, Nick, you're wrong. You're an idiot.
But no.
I'm like, hey, we talked about this.
I don't think it's that malicious. It's just like there was one time in particular I was talking about the counseling style that I liked the most, that I utilized the most. And I was talking about like the point of it, right? And an interaction that I had with one of my patients at one point. And you sent me a video talking your point of view on it. And you had a difference of opinion, right? About what something meant. And the video you sent me, which by the way, was not a very long video. There was probably a lot more detail to it, that this person had, but it was a very short video. But it basically was saying that I was wrong and here's why I was wrong. But you didn't like write a comment and say, hey, this popped up on my feed. We were just talking about this. What do you think?
I don't even remember what this video is.
All you did was send the video. Well, the reason why it sticks out in my head as much is because I was still an addiction counselor at the time, and it was kind of oppositional to a lot of the things that I was taught and educated about when it comes to addiction. And that's as far detail I'm going to get into it. But it was just a matter of like, there was no other reason to send it other than to say, haha, I'm right. Because even in our conversation, and this is a broader point, so it's not just about us. This is a broader point that I'm going to make in relation to this, as well as for the social media stuff. If you're pointing it out just because it came up on your feed, what was the point in sending it to me?
Because it made me think of our conversation.
So instead of sending me a message that says, "Hey, I was thinking about our conversation,"
Usually
so
I share things pretty quickly because I'm fast paced.
Yeah, but all you did was just send it to me. Like there was no context
I don't remember
given.
this particular video, but I would also say, what if it was just like it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I'm right and you're wrong, but hey, this guy has a similar opinion or something.
So, but
or this
even
girl has
but
similar
even
opinion.
on that, sending it that somebody, I know that that opinion exists, right? Like we even talked about it. How I know that there are people who feel a different way. That's the thing. Like, if you see a video and you're correcting their misinformation, okay, also make sure for yourself that you're not doing it just because misinformation. But make sure like you're actually going to get somewhere with it, because otherwise, all you're doing is perpetuating that misinformation further.
I think that we should all just
get
have Mark Zuckerberg implant chips in our head, and we can just
thought
live.
Elon was the one doing chips.
He is, but I think I'll get the Meta brand. I'll get
you'll
not
get
the
the Meta
Tesla.
brand.
I'll get the Meta brand. I'll have the Zuck chip in my brain, and we can
Right.
all just live in the metaverse.
Right.
And
Well,
we don't have to worry about fact checking because the chip will fact check for us, and we'll just all be correct all the time.
That'll suck.
Why?
Well, for one, because
You don't want to be an AI bot?
No. Some misinformation is a good opportunity to have a conversation, but people don't want to have conversation. A difference of opinion is a conversation starter. And if you're not willing to have a conversation, then shut the fuck up. Like, honestly, don't even correct them. Don't even fucking put up your own little videos.
Or you can just accuse them of being pedo defenders.
Yeah, or Nazi sympathizers or some bullshit. Because that's really what it's coming down to, is like the second you say anything even remotely close to, a correcting of information, even if you are correct, like people will still agree with that person because there's such an emotional charge to it.
I've even tried doing things like, I understand where you're coming from and I agree with you.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Even if you say you agree, they don't fucking care.
Like, I understand where you're coming from. I agree with you. And then you mention like maybe one thing that you don't agree with, but then all they hear is you're saying I'm wrong, or you disagree with me, or you're this, that.
Like,
by the way, I don't think we have time for,
we always have
Ask
time.
the Asshole.
We always have time. All right. Do we need to get to that right
You
now?
want to end it with Ask an Asshole?
Yeah, why not?
All right. We'll do Ask an Asshole. Maybe
right.
one or two. All right,
Oh my
ladies and
God.
gentlemen,
Wow, that episode kind of was there. All right.
Ask an Asshole. All right. Nicholas, am I the
Captain.
asshole for reminding my mom that she disappeared for 6 years? Okay. Here we go.
Wait,
My
wait,
mom.
Hold on.
Oh, Jesus. I can never fucking read it.
No, you can never just go into it. Am I the asshole for reminding my mom that she disappeared for 6 years?
How do you expect me to clip this out?
Well, but
All right. Am I the asshole for reminding my mom that she disappeared for 6 years? My mom, 18, meaning the person's 18.
Yeah.
My mom and dad divorced 6 years ago. Her new husband didn't want her to see my dad, and so she let my dad have custody of me and didn't exercise visitation. She contacted us last month saying she had divorced him and would like to reconnect. Dad told me it's up to me, so I said, why not? Things have been kind of awkward between us. Obviously, I've changed a lot since the last time she saw me. When she came over yesterday, I was reading an offer from a gentleman. My mom said, you're too young to be reading these toxic romance books. I just stared at her and said, I was 12 when you disappeared 6 years ago. I'm 18 now. She sputtered for a moment and then told me there was no need to use that word, that she said she made a mistake and there was no reason to throw it in her face.
okay.
Is she the asshole?
Yes, and.
Are you stumped?
No. I'm not stumped, but I had to think about it for a second because I think so. Yes and no. But yes, in this. I think you are a little bit of an asshole to throw it in your mom's face, especially that first time out, that first day. But I also think your mom coming back into your life after 6 years and not being there needed to remind herself that you are not who she remembers you being. So I think both, to a degree, were assholes about it because you both needed to give each other a little bit of credit. Excuse me, a little bit of grace, a little bit of understanding.
It seems like the consensus on Reddit is that she's not the asshole. That the mom's a jerk.
I know. But that's also because a lot of these people probably have not seen one of their parents for a long time. That's probably not true. No, here's why I'm going to say it that way, okay, is because both people need to have a little bit of understanding. The mom needs to have understanding that the kid grew up and that mom needs to own the fact that she wasn't there for a while. But we also don't know why mom wasn't there.
Well, according to the daughter, she left to be with another man.
We don't know why she left. I'm going to say that there's probably more to that story. And there's probably some nuance to that story that would let us understand her position a little bit better.
Her mom was a homewrecker.
Or maybe this girl's dad was real shitty to her. We don't know.
Maybe.
Girl's also only 18. She doesn't 100% know what was going on when she was 12.
I don't know. You got one more in you?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Especially because people on Reddit argued with me. How dare you, Reddit people?
This post is by Helpful Force 5711.
Aww.
Am I the asshole for calling ski patrol on a guy after he hit my son with his skis? Okay.
I need detail on that one.
Well, I'm about to.
Yeah, I know you are.
My son, 11, and I, 44 male, recently booked a trip to go skiing in Colorado. It was my son's first time skiing, but he had seen a lot of skiing videos on YouTube, and he seemed really excited for the trip. We also live in Florida, so this is not the trip you can just go and do whenever you like. We are not rich. I grew up in Utah, and I loved skiing when I was younger, and I would say I'm an expert on the mountain. The first day goes all good, and my son really enjoyed skiing for the first time, even though he fell a lot. I made sure to be as supportive and as caring as possible, even when he was struggling, because I wanted to make this as fun as an experience as possible for him. However, on the second day of skiing, he says he's finally ready to ski down the whole mountain, and so we take the lift to the top. Luckily, there was a way to get down the mountain while only staying on green level trails, so we took that way. My son is having a blast when all of a sudden this guy in his 20s careens into my son from behind, going on insane speeds, wiping them both out. My son immediately started crying and came running to me after he got his skis off, and once he calmed down, he ran to the lodge where my wife was, and she decided to take him to the doctor's office. I immediately confronted the guy for being so reckless, and he simply says that I should have been paying better attention to my kid, and then he rode off. That was the final straw for me, and I called ski patrol number in the app and told the guy the situation and what the skier was wearing, and they told me they would find him and kick him out. Later on, I saw him getting escorted out of the park by 2 ski patrol officers, and when he saw me, he immediately started cursing me out and calling me a horrible dad. I tried to ignore it, but now I'm second-guessing myself if I overreacted. So, am I the asshole?
Honestly, without getting more detail on that, I don't know. Because here's the thing, and anybody with kids knows this shit, right? You can't watch your kid 100% of the time. Even if they're standing right next to you, they might take a couple of steps in the wrong direction and be in somebody's way. And you don't necessarily see that, right? Now, granted, that guy was skiing a little bit fast, according to that dad. But do I think he should be, I don't know, do I think he should have called snow patrol on him? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I'd need to know a little bit more on that. But I mean, I can only imagine people on Reddit were probably like, fuck that guy. He should be kicked out.
Yeah, the consensus seems to be that the dad is not the asshole.
Yeah, and I'm not saying either one of them are, because I think there's probably more to that story that I would need to know to really be able to apply, if somebody's being an asshole or not.
I would imagine that the skier didn't intentionally hit the kid.
Yeah, I can't imagine he intentionally did it.
But what does he mean? Like, is the dad exaggerating about how fast the guy was going? Or maybe if you're on a green hill, there's probably a limit to how fast you can go to begin with, wouldn't you? Because it's not as steep of an incline.
Right, usually.
And then how many people take their inexperienced kids on the slopes,
Several.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's what I would say on it. I mean, I wish I had something better to say.
You know what? That was a very anticlimactic.
I'm so sorry.
Asshole.
I'm so sorry. Well, here's what I will say though is I do think the dad is an asshole, but not for calling the ski patrol because he's a protective father. I think he's an asshole for letting his 11-year-old kid who's that inexperienced to get on the fucking trail. They have bunny trails for a goddamn reason.
All right. I purposely aim for all the kids on my way down the slope. So
As you should.
I look at it like a slalom, but I'm trying to hit them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's too many people in the world right now.
Yeah. So I just zigzag in between the children to knock them over.
There's 50% too many people on the planet right now.
Actually, it's a little more efficient sometimes if you get in a tube and just
Yeah.
go down the hill and just take them all out with the tube.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Wow. Yeah, that's a good way to be. Good way to be.
Toboggan.
They'll learn. Yeah.
That's right.
Honest to God, like in my head, I'm picturing you like just on a big rubber boat, just going down a hill, like
Taking out as many kids as possible.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's going to do it, since the Republicans are back in control.
See, there you go. There you go. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. All right.
It's like the mom just slips me a 20 and we push him down the hill on his little skis.
Oh.
And then, it's ruled an accident.
Yeah, that's it. It's an accident. Wow. Wow. All right. At
Sorry.
some point we're
Joking
probably gonna
about
have
murdering
to,
children. Sorry.
Yeah, at some point we're probably going to have to do an episode about some of the political shit going on.
Yeah, maybe some vaccine RFK Jr. stuff.
Oh, good. The second he's confirmed, I don't want him to be confirmed, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be. But the second he's confirmed, that's going to be 4 fucking years of us being able to talk about some awesome shit. Actually, but no.
What was that?
That was me having 2 thoughts at the same fucking time. Anyway, so if you dislike, agree or disagree with anything we said, if you want to tell Nick how he's wrong about anything he said, feel free to do so on any of our social media. We will be posting clips of this episode. But if you put comments on the actual Spotify or YouTube episode of this, I'm probably going to respond a whole lot faster if you agree or disagree with anything I said.
May the tism be with you.
And with you.